So, Attorney Miller, can you tell me a little bit about how people use trusts in estate planning, especially when it comes with regards to land?
Yeah, again, a trust allows you to control property after you die. I usually give an example of, I'm going to ask you, do you have $20 in your pocket? And whether you do or not doesn't matter, but let's say you do, and when someone asks you a question like that, you could say any number of things, right? You could say, why do you want it?
Hmm.
Is it for you? Is it for somebody else? You can make it conditional, right? You can say, I'll give you $5, but you have to run around the room 3 times and sing Amazing Grace backwards. I mean, whatever you want to do.
Hmm.
The problem is when you pass away, you're not there any longer to be able to control the item like you did in the question for a $20 bill. The $20 bill you own, you can control what it's used for.
Hmm.
When you're passed away, you're no longer there, and that can be important because sometimes you want to be able to monitor things because you're giving real estate or something expensive to a young person,
Right.
and any number of reasons why you want to control it. The trusts are there, so instead of just giving it to the person and they can do with it what they choose, you can set the terms. For real estate, I'm sorry, for estate planning, for money usually, I'm going to give some kid $1 million. A lot of people don't feel comfortable handing an 18-year-old $1 million
Yeah.
because then
I
they'll
wonder
own,
why.
yeah, they'll own 3 Ferraris by the end of the week.
Yeah.
So a lot of times they'll set up a trust that does nothing but just kind of at 18 you get some money. You can use it for college. At 22 I'll give you some more. 25 what have you.
Hmm.
Real estate's a lot like that as well. With the trust, you can control what it's used for. For example, and there's a current beneficiary, someone that the trust is designed for. But when that initial issue is done, there's residual beneficiaries, which means that it goes to other people.
So, like, you can give it to your kids and then their grandkids, or
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, you can have a lot of people use a trust, for example, in real estate where I want my spouse or I want my significant other to be able to live in the house, but ultimately I want it to go to my kids. If I simply give it to my spouse who has other children,
Or get remarried, or
you never know
whatever.
what's going to happen to
Yep.
that, right? So the way to control the asset is not to simply hand it to a significant other, but rather do it through a trust. Therefore, it's guaranteed to be eventually transferred to who you
They
want it
can
to.
use it, it's for their benefit, but they don't own it.
Correct. And for like I said, the terms of a trust are what you want to set it up as. So if you want them to have more control and more input of what it's used for, you can do whatever you want. But you can also restrict them to what they want. Just, for
Mhm.
example, giving it to my kids when you're through it, things like that.
And can you explain the difference in a trust between a trustee and a beneficiary?
Yes, the trustee is the person that's in charge. So they're making the decisions. They handle the trust. Beneficiary is by definition the person that benefits from which where the name beneficiary comes from. They benefit from the trust. So, for example, often I have a trust fund. You hear those where I'm having some money that's left for a kid, but I don't want the kid, the 18-year-old, to be able to manage it. So I'm going to have a trustee. The trustee then would invest it, would decide whether or not the kid gets money and manage the funds. He'd be the trustee. A beneficiary would be the kid who's waiting to inherit.
And trustees are generally a neutral third party. How do you normally see that set up?
Typically, the problem with banks and quite frankly other lawyers is that we charge for our time.
Hmm.
And so a lot of people will have someone that they trust, and they will set them up as trustees. It's less expensive, and quite frankly, a relative knows the situation better
Hmm.
to be able to decide what's best. So a trustee is typically someone that they know but is willing to do it.
And maybe they get compensated a little bit.
They can,
That can be
yeah.
set up in the
They can also be set up
rules.
ahead of time. They can be compensated. Many don't, and then usually they back-up trustees because if someone inherits the right to be a trustee, and I don't like part of this.
Mhm.
Okay, well we have a backup set up that it gets
Got it.
transferred to
Well, that's
someone
smart.
else.